Hi, everybody. Welcome to this short video that provides an overview and analysis of the Ray Bradbury novel, The Martian Chronicles. During World War II, two technologies were developed that would transform human reality in strange and complex ways: rocketry and nuclear power. The development of advanced rocketry by the Nazis allowed them to terrorize England with a barrage of unstoppable missiles. After the war, this same technology promised to allow human beings to escape the Earth's surface and possibly even to visit other worlds. Rocketry had the power to destroy, but it also had the potential to expand the horizon of human possibilities. The harnessing of nuclear power, likewise, began as a successful Allied military effort to develop a bomb so destructive that it could end the entire World War almost overnight, which it did. Following the war, scientists pursued the possibility of using nuclear power for peacetime power generation, but a global arms race quickly led to more powerful bombs being developed and nuclear stockpiles soaring to levels capable of wiping out all human life, especially when nuclear technology and rocket technology are combined to create intercontinental nuclear weapons. In the aftermath of World War II, a global population suddenly found itself in a new kind of world. The world had suddenly shrunk so that an enemy on the other side of the world could annihilate your hometown in minutes. In fact, the whole world itself could be erased from existence at any given moment. At the same time, the world that we had been living in, it turns out, is also a scientific object known as a planet. Of course, people had known that the Earth is a planet for centuries, but the combination of the ability to leave the surface of the Earth provided by rocketry and the possibility of annihilating the Earth in a nuclear war transformed the ways that people in the 20th century perceived the Earth itself, which suddenly appeared much more perilous and vulnerable. By the time World War II started, science fiction was already a robust and well-developed literary genre. But in the decade following World War II, science fiction expanded from a niche clique of innovators and enthusiasts into a global cultural phenomenon. It is true that one of the cultural functions of science fiction storytelling is to provide opportunities for thinking through the challenges and implications of new technologies. The popularity of science fiction in the decade following the end of World War II can certainly be interpreted as a sign that global audiences of readers and moviegoers were looking to sci-fi to help them assimilate the radical reorientation of human perception suggested by the sudden emergence of these post-war technologies. At the forefront of this post-war wave of science fiction writers is Ray Bradbury, and his masterpiece, The Martian Chronicles, weaves together a series of short stories into an epic saga that encompasses the fears, dreams, and imaginative possibilities suggested by the new planetary technology of rockets and nuclear bombs. The first story in the collection, Rocket Summer, suggests that new technologies are altering our sense of the Earth itself by depicting a town where the winter weather is periodically turned to summer from the heat of a nearby rocket launch pad. For the people living in this town, rockets are not only technologies directed out into outer space, these technologies also alter the communities, ecosystems, and the texture of daily life. Bradbury's representations of the Martians depict them as living mirrors of the Earthlings who come to explore and settle their planet. Before first contact takes place, Martian consciousness seems to be flooded with premonitions of the Earthlings' arrival, as in Yila, and with Earthling song and language, as in The Summer Night. Moreover, when the Earthlings begin to arrive, the Martians are capable of appearing to them in guises that reflect the colonists' psychological needs. They create an illusory, nostalgic vision of the colonists' childhood homes and loved ones in the third expedition, and even seem to physically shapeshift in response to the anguished memories of the humans in The Martian. The suggestion that the Martians are mirrors is driven home in the final scene of the last story, The Million-Year Picnic, when a family of refugees who have come to Mars to escape the nuclear annihilation of Earth go on a search for Martians. Their father shows them their reflections in a pool of water. The Martians were there. Bradbury's Martians seem to represent a principle that imagining the other, or the alien, actually constitutes a discovery of oneself. After all, alien things, the unconscious, other people, the unknown, are in many ways mirror reflections of the familiar, and the same principle informs the way that Bradbury's trip to Mars holds a mirror to historical atrocities and contemporary crises of an entirely terrestrial origin. In this sense, the fate of the Martians also mirrors the fate of the indigenous people of North America, reflecting back to American readers their own violent history. Bradbury's characterization of the dreamy, visionary, and ancient race of Martians certainly owes much to mid-century stereotypes of Native Americans as stoic, vaguely magical, and tragically doomed. Of course, the arrival of Earthlings on Mars plays out as a reiteration of the arrival of Europeans to the Americas, and it causes a similar genocidal consequence for the aboriginal inhabitants. Indeed, the Martians are mostly wiped out by the Earthlings' chickenpox virus, reflecting the manner in which infectious diseases from Europe devastated indigenous populations in the Americas in the 16th and 17th centuries. The short story, And the Moon Be Still as Bright, is Bradbury's most extended treatment of this parallelism, with the rebel spaceman Spender standing up to his crewmates for the disrespect they show to the Martian landscape and the Martian civilization that they carelessly trample underfoot. Spender's resistance to the encroachment of boorish humans into the sacred graveyard of Mars is portrayed as noble but futile. Indeed, even Spender's sympathetic captain winds up getting kicked upstairs to Jupiter for trying to defend Spender's point of view, leaving Mars to be inherited by morons like Sam Parkhill, whose dream for the magical new world is to open Mars's first hot dog stand in the story The Off-Season. Bradbury's depiction of the settling of Mars mimics the popular frontier hypothesis that the American wilderness was tamed first by bold pioneers who were then followed by waves of less independent, more mundane, and more physically feeble settlers until the New World lost its charm and its danger to become just another flabby extension of the Old World. By seeing the colonization of Mars play out as an echo of the colonization of America, Bradbury gives us a chance to see human history and mass behavior from the point of view of an expanded scale, from an interplanetary perspective. And from this perspective, it is clear that human beings seem to be locked into senseless patterns of greed and destruction and small-mindedness. Inventing new technologies and even traveling to new planets doesn't seem to change human beings or to transform their behavior. At the same time, Bradbury also suggests that new possibilities for human self-understanding may be able to emerge from the interplanetary condition. In Night Meeting, an Earthling and a Martian living in two different millennia manage to encounter one another on the same road, going in opposite directions, and to share a feeling of fellowship and empathy that somehow manages to transcend time and confuse simplistic assumptions about the past and the future. The story Way in the Middle of the Air addresses the racial politics during the pre-civil rights moment when Bradbury wrote this book. In that chapter, all the African Americans in a small southern town pool their resources to build a rocket to escape from the racist violence and second-class status that the town's white people subject them to. The story exposes the conspiracy of secret lynchings and systemic violence employed to terrorize African Americans in mid-20th century America, while also suggesting the possibility that oppressed people could build a new society on Mars that would allow them to find new forms of freedom and empowerment. The final image of the book, the image of the post-apocalyptic family seeing themselves as Martians, also suggests an ambiguously hopeful ending. Maybe this new group of Adams and Eves will be able to start over on a new planet and make a better civilization than the one that has destroyed itself. The most famous short story from the Martian Chronicles, There Will Come Soft Rains, provides one of science fiction literature's most disturbing representations of technology as a fundamentally anti-human force. The story provides a tour of the House of Tomorrow, where every aspect of human life is fully automated, from the alarm going off to wake you up in the morning, to the kitchen apparatus making breakfast for you, to the recording that reads poetry to you, to the technological light show that entertains the children, to the automated cleaning robots. Indeed, the house is so self-sufficient that it operates just as well without any human beings at all. And indeed, there are no humans in the story. They've been vaporized by a nuclear bomb. You can see their silhouettes burnt into the outline of the paint on the exterior wall by the atomic blast. And the house carries on, indifferent to their absence. The story suggests that even before the humans were literally annihilated by the war, they have already been made obsolete by the everyday consumer technologies that had gradually taken over their lives. Similar insinuation that the end of technology is ultimately the replacement of humanity is suggested by the android robots who take the place of their human originals in the stories Usher 2 and The Long Years. Indeed, over the 27-year time span of the novel, the technologies of rocketry and nuclear weapons have worked together to virtually eliminate the populations of 2 planets. Imagining the future history of the relationship between Earth and Mars allows Bradbury and his readers to step out of the present in order to see human behavior on a time scale that encompasses the past and the future, and to step back in space to consider human beings from an interplanetary perspective. From this alien point of view, we catch a glimpse of the human species as adrift in the cosmos, alone, confused, sad, angry, dreaming, trying to escape themselves and their world, only to find themselves face to face with their own reflections and their own finitude.